Good evening, Saliva Anaji, Imran Modi ji, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all the faculty members who have joined today for this online faculty development programs. So please type which place, which college you are from, where are you joining from, uh, and what is your expectation from this? Okay, Lucknow, great, great. Asansol, wow. Tamil Nadu, okay. Karnataka. Some of you are asking, somebody is asking for the link. Wait. Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you kindly send the joining link in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I've just sent. Please join.
You check it out.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have somebody from Thane, from Tamil Nadu. Great, 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 great. So this is a 6-day program. You are aware. We are somebody's joining from Gujarat. Okay. Second. I think people are just joining. I'm just helping them to join. Vadodara, Gujarat. Okay. Good
Yeah,
evening, sir.
good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Good to have you here, sir. So we have 800 plus, more
Oh,
than
great.
800 plus faculty members who have registered for this program, and slowly they are all joining in. Already
Great.
123 people are on this bridge. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to take one moment to thank all the faculty members. I know they have a full day, they clock full hours in the institute, answering queries, handling students, then there is admin work also. And now I think admin work has increased a lot, I think. Uh,
But your efforts will reduce it.
yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Absolutely. That's the idea. That's the idea that, we uh, that is the idea that the technology should make their life easy and will help
Yeah.
them to be more productive and more efficient. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you are
They can
right, sir.
use their time wisely where they have to focus and provide priority to their own abilities.
Yes, that's correct, sir. That's correct. So generally the Atal thing is that I think they have an assessment on Atal, but our format is a little different because we are also promoting Future Skills Prime, which is Government of India initiative.
True.
So the assessment will be on Future Skills Prime. We are making a group on Future Skills Prime. So please, after the inaugural address, I will show you the portal also and tell you how you can access the course as well as the assessment. Uh, we will just wait, sir. People are just
True.
joining in. So yes, please message Rohini ji. I think you have raised your hand. Babita ji, you've raised your hand. You can put in the chat whatever is your question. As sir rightly said, this digital application of digital technologies will help you to basically become more productive and prioritize and see where you need to focus and how you can use this technology to in your day-to-day life. So all the trainers are going to talk about that and make sure that you are up to date with all the technologies. So we'll just wait for another couple of minutes so that more people can join in. So as we have seen, we are seeing in the chat that from all over India, the faculty members are joining us. So that's great. The assessment will be on Future Skills Prime. Attendance is on Zoom. Uh, I'll just wait for the number to reach 200 and then we'll start. We're already with 81, almost 190 faculty members have joined us already. Just wait for 1 or 2 more minutes. Right, I think we'll start now. We're almost a couple of minutes now into the call. So, first of all, I would like to thank AICTE for this important initiative to upskill faculty members. They are our heroes because in their hands is the future of Viksit Bharat because that is they train the students to be contribute to the nation and the development of the nation. So first of all, thank you to AICT. A big thank you to the team at NASCOM, Dr. Bilasha Gaur, who is the CEO, for it was her guidance that we should take up this and leverage our resources to train the faculty members. Then a big thank you to Dr. Harshal Shah, Dean, Parul University, for joining us and for delivering this keynote inaugural address. So we are very happy to share that we have, as I told you, we have 800 plus faculty members who have registered for this 6-day program, which means that they will be joining every day from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock. And then on Saturday also the classes start at 2 o'clock. You're very well aware. You have also taken the sessions. Saturday is another long day. There are 3 sessions and then there is the assessment. So it starts at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Yes. So after the inaugural, I will share the details with you. So please have patience and I'll now hand it over to Sir for his inaugural address. Dr. Harshal Shah, Dean, School of Engineering and Management, Parul University. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. First of all the respected members at the Ministry of Electronics and IT and very respected people like Dr. Abhilasha and others, those who are esteemed people who had conceptualized and make it this real. And for the all faculty members, and as you know, the data has become a lot of importance in every processes of the nowadays, like for an even though it is a matter of accreditations or an administrations, all my colleague faculties, so I would also respected all faculty members, right, and those who are right now not in the sessions, like an invited all experts and all the participants. First of all, good evening to all of you. Good evening, all of you. Right, it's a privilege to stand before you today as we inaugurate this faculty development program on this digital foundation applications into science, technology, engineering, and management. This topic is now no longer optional topic, but it is essential. We navigate an era where the digital literacy was discussed. Today, I was in some of the pre summit and pre workshop of an India AI, which is recently going to be start from the next Monday. Right there, we were discussing that this is the generation which has seen a lot of transformation. When initially the days were there, do we allow a calculator in a classroom or in an examination? And then a lot of discussions were happen. And then gradually calculators have been allowed with the concept that the things which is not possible by human mind in a limited stipulated time, but if we allow a calculator, then we can now go ahead with the 10 digits calculation and real life calculations that can be possible. So student can more focus and faculty can more focus on more higher order things. Same way when computers arrived and the things are again been discussed, just context was different. And then again it becomes an adoption. So we navigate to the era of an digital literacy, digital tools. Now the generation which is here artificial intelligence, the day of AI comes, and that calls the digital innovations. This define competitiveness and capabilities, what our brains are capable enough. And these digital tools replicate that, innovate that, and make it faster, which is there as an human, individual human being on the process of thoughts. Our thought processes as in faculties and subject experts is very clear. We devise the things in our brain, but when it is to be that make it into the system or make it into the paper, it takes a time as the human work limitations, but that we can eliminate. So today we are not just launching an FDP, we are reinforcing a collective commitment to stay relevant, to stay future ready, and to empower our learners with the digital competence what they deserve. We are reinforcing, and this is the need for the all digital literacy are now called AI literacy on digital foundations. In the past decades, what I have explained, the all digital transformation which has moved from big advantage after the COVID, right? You can see those who were exceptions which becomes an acceptance. So this is what the now new expectations. So every discipline, whether it is in medicine, commerce, engineering, humanities, or law, now everything will demands this type of new generative skills, new skills, proficiencies. From the data-driven decision makings to AI-powered tools, from cloud platforms to collaborative digital ecosystems, the world is evolving faster than traditional learning, which can be now keep up to the higher level. We usually talk to the Bloom's level taxonomies and higher order thinking. But these tools makes us support us to make it higher order assessments, usage of this in academia, and making our task free for the new research verticals, new research. So this brings us an important truth that the educators are not the transmitters of the knowledge, they are architects of the country. And so our responsibility becomes higher that we show the confidence on digital tools, digital ecosystems, and for our students to transform them into the industry, let them make it industry ready professionals. It is becoming essential that we as an educator stay updated with the foundational tools and emerging technologies. As you know, the purpose of this FDP is designed with the primary goals. What is that? The first, this to build strong digital fundamentals among the educators. So here, a lot of hands-on experience will be coming to you with proving your essential digital tools, applications, and platform which is used across the various practices. Here, your engagement, as today you have come out in a big numbers, so daily come out in a big numbers and make your more corrective adaptive nature of this which is challenge to you that you had overcome and you keep overcoming this and make it relevant into the discussions and put up a case studies towards the expert who came to you. Just don't listen only them, listen them carefully, but give them some exercises of and challenges of your real world facings, so you will get a better insights and this faculty development program will get an more insightful outcomes, which is what been expected across the ecosystem of an India. Right. So this is the my understanding that this is the one goal which we are catering together. It's a collective responsibility. Second, nowadays you know that ChatGPT comes, the LLM model comes, and our learning, teaching learning methods have been totally disrupted. Students take a references. Students it's themselves the Students who are very serious, they themselves write the answers, take the photo and upload it to the Gemini and assess how much I have written right. Earlier, they used to come to the faculties for these things, right? The knowledge was available on Google, but assessment, now they got a tool also for their own assessment, for own references. They try to find out what they are now able to evaluate themselves. They did not to come. So days will come where we have to think about the higher order of learning management mechanisms. We need to provide them the things which is world, where world is very open book, open kind of in a thinking processes, because the things will get changed and skill sets will also demand some changes. So here we need a digital content, so they will find curated content, and these tools, this FDP will help you to give and create your own content with the curations, because India is very versatile and vernacular. So we need to reach to the students the way they can understand and accept the knowledge, and as an our responsibility as a faculty, that into the world the knowledge is not curated. When you develop your own content which becomes a curated and context oriented towards the your local geographical locations and make it that global. This is the second goal, where we enhance this teaching learning through the technology, from digital content creations to the LMS platform. Now, one more thing which was been recently today discussed, that basis on this tool, we can have more data. More data means one student would require how much time to attempt one particular coding problem. And the tools have been helpful, that some students need a 10 seconds to solve this. One student need a 1 minute to small problem solutions. Then how many reiterations of their attempts are happening onto the tool, which will help us to identify how speed, what sort of practices that student will require to uplift their level. We would have a data, we would know the person who, the student who required how much time. Then also second more thing, when we make the things open, we will come to know that during the 24 hours, when student is joining for learning, when student is not joining for the learning, we will find their learning patterns. And then lot of behavioral issues are coming today. We have heard recently some students get been pressured on an examination, take it to the wrong step and then terminated their own life. We would come to know, based on these engagements, more data, where they are connected, where they are not connected. And anytime we can facilitate the support basis on these tools. When we create the contents and the chatbots become familiar, and India is investing a lot of to create their own LLM, own content, that is the large language model. Yet right now whatever the solutions which we are making, majorly the all students are making, they are from either a ChatGPT model or Llama model or maybe Google Gemini model or many more. I'm not taking many names here, but what they are taking the these tools which is not been exactly in contextual with our own data, but we can making these tools which can become a collaborative tools, and this will empower the faculty when they integrate this type of things, becoming meaningful pedagogy, because they will chat their pronunciations, they will have a question answers, and we can narrate the path of gradually uplifting into their curriculum and a subject matters. We can make them prepared using this particular tools. And even though as a human being we would not get involved 24 hours, right, by using this tool we can make that system runs 24 hours, so student can facilitate into their own time, and this pedagogy will help us, because the evaluation, their gradings, and also a mapping of their knowledge to the outcomes, that also these tools are helping. We also have as a NAC accreditations and other NIRF rankings, where we have to work on outcomes, how the outcomes have been achieved. If student has written the answer, whether it is suitable, that either the outcome is achieved or not, and that is where we have to take the tools also. Then I'd like to take an example also. Earlier, that student life, people have a little hacks. I would call like an hacks in today's language. So they say you refer a 5-year-old question papers, and mostly the question paper will come from them. And that is the obvious practices which we've been keep on hearing from a lot of time. And usually humans have this much barrier that whatever they want to try to the balance, and the question paper gets somehow repeated, maybe the examiner, maybe anyone, but the collection union of the all questions of the 5 years will solve the purposes, create the trends. And we could not even track what has been exactly asked in the last term or last 5 years as a human being. But when nowadays the solutions came, they have again AI based generations. We can create 5,000 questions for one particular topic and put it up, and it can randomize. So we have adapted such a practices where now another part, no professor would be able to say मेरा ही क्वेश्चन पेपर आएगा और ये तो इंपॉर्टेंट ही है, आप कर लीजिए. So that trends will break the student mindsets, and which has actually increased the percentage but decreased the quality of their outcomes. And that can be taken up this way: the neutralization of question paper development, same way the AI assistance for the assessment. Though I will not say that their systems are 100% proof, but as an experiment, we have applied this particular tool at my new institutions and old university also from last 1.5 years, and we found amazing results over there. Students become more conscious that now no one would be able to give them an IMPs, because every last day, every last week, student reach to the professors and say, sir, give some important questions, very IMPs, and we break that thing. So that now we even don't know before 10 minutes the question of the examination, the question paper gets generated by the system itself. So nobody will be able to claim. Just we can control the structure only, that from module 1 or unit 1, this many weightage of this particular higher order or lower order, or as per the Bloom's outcome, Bloom's taxonomy or course outcome, simple questions to be there of this many number of marks. So the structure is in our hand, question is not in our hand. And minimum for each structure they have to at least give 40-50 questions, and system can remember what has been asked. System is able to paraphrase also the questions the way whatever we have input, but AI can support there and it can paraphrase the questions. It can change the data also, like in case study based questions into the management systems, or maybe some designing systems are there in engineering where it can find similar data. So the answer may not be same if somebody would have received also. Then even though in a practicals also it can tweak the data. Once the data is tweaked, results will be different for the same question. Result will be different for each and every individual students. And even though as a human being we cannot calculate all the answers and all the problems which we have set for the 60 or 100 odd students, but still system can give it. So that way we can still make them effort putting peoples, right? So this practices will achieve the third goal, that to boost digital confidence, and these innovations will make this. And beyond the tools, this FDP encourage a mindset shift towards the adopting these new approaches, digital approaches, like more focus. The faculties can also more focus on making their students more on problem solving, which will be the new generation tool. The Bharat GPT, their owner, right, and the core over that has just made a statement that in my company, after down the line of 3 or 4 years, I would not need a people who can write the code. The days are gone where people have been paid on LOC, that has been in a software industry. It has been practiced that lines of code, the billing system were there, and now the system will be totally get vanished, and people will be paid for their problem solving ability, because the code will be written by the tools, right? There are a lot of tools also have been come up, you might have seen in all social media also. So this adoption of these digital approaches for the problem solving, and same way in a research also, today you just took a one tool, find out the data, you can find the gaps, and then you can give another tool to work upon that, it will find probable solutions. Then you give her all research papers, then make a summaries, and your research work is ready. So that is what the speed has been happened into the writing of a research paper, which we can see. And again, you can check the tools and remove the plagiarism content, and then you write that, you work upon that particular focused area only where you need an improvement, and your research work's taken. Same way in administration, student engagement, and everything which is there, the it makes the change. And that is the focus of our own, is to be there. The role of educators into the digital era will become, this digital transformation is not just about the apps and software, it's about the people too. So it's about the how we think, adapt, and collaborate, and we create a value. As an educator here, we play a very transformative role. We shape how the students and how the faculties and how our peer fellows will be use this technology, and they will perceive the technology, and we influence how they use it responsibly and creatively. We set the foundation for the generation that will work with AI, automation, and data as naturally as we once work with the pen and paper. So this FDP therefore is not merely about the learning the tools, it's also about the preparing to guide young minds into the digital empowered future. And future focus is there on innovation. So India today stands at the forefront of a digital evolution, from UPI to AI driven governances, from digital health to the smart education, and all our institutions too and must reflect this momentum. And this FDP is step towards that. They are asking us as these outcomes: more innovative classrooms now needed, more efficient academic process will be required, and we have to assure more employable graduates and more digitally empowered academic community. With each new skills which we learn, we contribute to building a stronger foundation for our institutions and for our nations. So here I conclude my speech, and I extend the heartfelt gratitude towards all Kamna ji and all entire organizing committee for the visions and dedications, and also the resource persons who will contribute and sharing their expertise. And even though not forgetting the all participant faculties, that because you have invested your time after the hectic day for your desires and zeal to learning and grow there. So that's everyone's presence signals that commitment to the excellence, and this commitment what keeps our education ecosystem vibrant. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Harshal. I think very, very aptly you have spoken. And I think I especially liked your point that, the faculty members now have a chance to talk to industry people and ask them questions about their real world problems, because the experts are there and they can guide them with real examples on how to solve those real problems that they might be facing in college with students. And that is the best way to learn, because now mostly we have industry folks who are the trainers. So thank you so much for that. And I will, before I welcome Dr. Prakash Koteti, he's a senior consultant with TechM, and he's going to take the first session of day one. I'll just take 2 minutes, Prakash sir, if I can show them Future Skills Prime. So, everyone, thank you
Yeah,
so
good
much for your
evening.
time.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. You can stay on, or you can, as you feel comfortable. So,
I would love to listen Dr. Prakash Goteti. Today I have some time, so I'll hear it. I'll
Thank
just stop my video only. So allow me that I'll listening him.
sir, I'm going to take 2 minutes to explain the Future Skills Prime. That's all. Bas.
Ma'am, go ahead, go ahead. Okay.
Yes, yes. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I will be taking your attendance on Zoom. So, you just join on Zoom, the attendance will be recorded. And I'm going to share my screen. Your assessment and course, which you have to finish, is on Future Skills Prime. So, I'm sharing my screen and quickly showing you. So you go to your browser and you type Future Skills Prime. We have made your group already. Your email ID, which is registered on Atal, is your login ID as well as your password. It's not the password which you have given on Atal. That is not the password of Future Skills Prime. Your email ID, which is registered on Atal, is your password for Future Skills Prime. So you log in, future, and I'm already logged in. I'll just log in. If you can see the page, just type yes in the chat and then go to groups. Okay. You go to groups and here you just reload this page. Okay. Or you search for AICT Atal. So here you have AICT Atal. Your group is here. This is your group. Okay. The first card. If you can see the first card, just type yes in the chat. Password is Virendra Tank ji. The password is your email ID, which is registered on Atal. That's your password. So the first card is the course. This is mandatory. You have to complete this. And the third card is the assessment, which is free of cost, which you need to take after you finish the course. Okay. So I'm just stopping the share now and I'll repeat these instructions once the session is over. And now I'll just hand it over to Dr. Prakash Koteti. He has experience as an academic also, and he is into AI and governance. So I think over to you for your session.
Yeah, thanks. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Guteti. Thanks, first of all, Kamana, for the opportunity. So, I have 29 years of experience, combined academics and industry, and I have been working on this AML since last 10 years. So, most important thing I would like to highlight here is that since I could see both the sides, uh, uh, one of the concerns, right, is how do we actually develop assessments or uh, assignments, etc. Especially when we have students who have complete exposure to various large language models. That is one of the important things actually we need to consider, and we should factor that in our delivery, right? And pedagogy, especially when you think of outcome-based education, isn't it? So this first session, I will be dealing with a few things to bring everybody onto the common page. So let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Yeah. So this is just to provide you a brief understanding on the overall ecosystem of AI. And then moving forward, we'll also look at some of the examples like why generative AI has become more prominent and what are the knowledge and skills that one should have to get into these areas, right? So before we start, we will be looking at baseline skills in the space of AI. And we also possibly look at some use case examples, right? So actually I have actually two sessions. So today we'll be focusing more on the overall ecosystem and how the tools work, what are the tools that we have, right? And subsequently we look at generative AI, that is tomorrow. So if you look at uh, this AI as a discipline, there are broadly, you know, four categories, right? One is artificial intelligence, then machine learning, and deep learning, and then generative and agentic AI development, right? So first we look at the hierarchy, which is something like left-hand side, you see, we are talking about data types, right? We are talking about data types like structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Where the right-hand side, we see what overall ecosystem, right? So, like for example, generative AI and agentic AI are more specialized techniques derived from deep learning. And artificial intelligence is at the core. And what is actually uh, factoring in the case of agentic AI development is reinforcement learning, right? So reinforcement learning is very, very important to understand, uh, to realize these applications, how they built, especially on reinforcement learning. So the fundamental difference between this core part, right, which you see in the bottom, generative and agentic AI, is autonomous decision making, right, which is very, very powerful. So this is based on certain mathematical models, so such as policy evaluation, right? And we will be modeling uh, in application as abstract model of an agent, how the application should respond to different situations. So that's how you model reinforcement learning. I have not mentioned explicitly reinforcement learning because it's a standard way of representing various discipline under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. But when you look at artificial intelligence, there are two parts of it, right? One is called weak AI, other one is strong AI. So weak AI is like the way you see machine learning, deep learning, and all that, where this element of autonomous capability is something that we won't anticipate, right? Because your models are driven by the data, they are getting trained by the data, right? So whereas when you look at agentic AI, right? So agentic AI is based upon how do you encapsulate a particular application as an agent with some certain capabilities of interaction with the environment, how the agent should respond, for example, to the users. Now, what happens is that once you develop that abstraction, we also look at set of abstractions like that. Then we say that in a project I have four agents and three people, right? That means individually you are delegating that, right? So that is the level of applications that have come up actually now, right? But to understand that, one should start with the fundamentals, right? What are the fundamentals? Fundamentals here is understanding the computational model, right? That's why you see left hand side you have data, right? Structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. We are not saying that data types means integer, float, string, and all that, which is typically a conventional programming paradigm, right? But when you say data types here, we are talking about multi-modal data, right? So ability to process and understand and extract the features from multimodal data. That's what we are talking about. So that is the degree of complexity that we are dealing with. Now, when it comes to computational model perspective, so there are two things here, right? So let me share whiteboard so that I can explain to you. See, if you look at traditional application development, so understanding, first thing is we want to understand the computational model before we actually get into what is AI, what is ML and all that, right? We want to understanding computational model, right? So first we look at traditional computational model where we have input and you give the input to certain algorithms. This is your process and we have output, right? So here a whole bunch of functions. We have functions and procedures, right? All that. Now, when you look at that, the computational model here in the space of A is that you always have input and you also give output, right? And then you have what we call model, and then you get your a program, right? So this is what fundamentally the difference in terms of what how we need to look at these techniques, isn't it? Now, when you want to apply this to agentic AI, you can develop an agent which will be implementing a particular classifier model. Another agent will be developing another classifier, and you can think of orchestrator and how these things can be, leveraged to the best possible manner, right? So, in order to reach there, we need to start with fundamental building blocks, right? The fundamental building blocks, like I said, is good understanding about machine learning, right? So when you say machine learning means that the ability of the system to learn from the data without explicitly being programmed, right? That's what we are saying that our model is not, it is learning from data actually. So you are providing these labels, assume that you have features x1, x2, xd, and you have a label. This is typical supervised learning kind of setup, right? And in the case of unsupervised learning setup, you don't have this label, but you probably think of generative models, right? You think of probability distributions, isn't it? So that's how this whole thing is cutting across, right? Now we have reached a certain stage where we have frameworks to apply these models to different domains, right? Like, for example, if you take NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA has a lot of frameworks specific to the domains. To give an example, Mana is a framework, right? And similarly, Nemo for generative AI. So what's happening is that when you look at the computational model, we understand that domain knowledge is very important, isn't it? Because I need to care about which particular features or attributes from this data really is helpful to predict my way. Essentially, we are talking about a, a supervised learning setup. If you take, you have y predicted is a function of feature vector x, right? Now, this feature vector is internally having components x1, x2, xd, isn't it? So this kind of model, right, is called discriminative model, right? There is another type of model, right, which is called a kind of generative model that we will see in detail. But first, we need to understand this computational model. That is the reason we are talking about data types, not in terms of integer float to character and all that. We are talking something else, right? So let me just go back to the slide. Yeah. Now, if you look at the tasks of uh, artificial intelligence, right? This is the domain which is very important to understand. So somebody wants to start to get some kind of literacy initially, and after that fluency, right? In this area, the best way to go about is to pick up a particular uh, area, right? So what are the areas that we have? You can see it here, right? So if you are interested in machine learning, you can pick up machine learning. If you are interested in NLP, you can pick up natural language processing. And if you are interested in uh, translation models, right, then you can go to speech and related algorithms, so on and so forth. And for example, if you ask me, my area of interest is like computer vision, right? Because I work on a lot of image related data. So it depends, right? So it's not necessary that one has to be master in, all the things. Now, NLP is something, which is closely connected with your generative AI, prompt engineering, right? Suppose someone wants to start a journey in artificial intelligence. What is the best way to start? Best way to start is prompt engineering, right? How do we interact with large language models, and what is the concept of uh, uh, tuning these models, right? Things like that. That will be the base point. Even if you ask me, like people who work in quality, people who work in testing and automation, the first baseline where one can start is, you know, prompt engineering, right? Tomorrow we'll spend some time on prompt engineering anyway. So the NLP is something closely connected with that, and machine learning is a kind of core, right? Without machine learning, we will not be able to understand all these areas, but to some extent, right? We don't have to really get into all the algorithms in machine learning, all the disciplines in machine learning, but we try to have a good understanding of overall of ecosystem of machine learning, and then probably we'll move on to respective disciplines, right? And if you look at use cases, right, what are the most prominent use cases in machine learning is predictive maintenance, right? For example, if you are looking at how do I improve overall cycle time of a particular pipeline, right? Then something like if you take automobile industry, then you have assembling, and then you have testing, right? How do we reduce this overall cycle, and what are the factors of influence, right? That is one important thing, right? Similarly, if you look at logistic, right? Logistics, then understanding supply chains, right? And looking at optimality, right? Things like that. So let's say, suppose if some of you are very much interested in mathematics, right? Because without maths, we cannot learn these things, obviously, right? Then operations research is a very good field, right? So, so when you say operations research, where you can use it, right? You can use it in combination of machine learning. You can use it in the combination of uh, uh, generative AI and things like that, right? So this is what you see in machine learning. You have supervised learning, which comprises of classification and regression type of tasks, and you have unsupervised learning. In unsupervised learning, you have a clustering, association, rule mining, and exploration of the features, and then a separate branch called reinforcement learning, right? Now, first of all, what is this supervised learning and unsupervised learning? Who is supervising them? These algorithms? Any idea? Why they are called supervised learning and unsupervised learning? Any idea? So that we can see, like uh, for example, if you are if you are giving some tutorials to the students, right? If you are explaining a concept and you conduct certain tutorials, right? Then what happens? You are giving the problem, and you are aware of the solution of that problem, isn't it? Uh, so when you know the problem and the solution of the problem, next thing is when the student complete the task, you verify whether he has done correctly or not, right? So that's what supervised learning means. You basically look at what the model is predicting versus what is the truth value, right? And how to reduce that uh, error, right? So supervised learning, because you have some basis like your label, like something like if you take a classification problem, you want to classify uh, like, given the patient data, whether this person is having some disease or not, right? That is a Boolean classification or binary classification. Similarly, if you want to predict stock price, so your label or y is a floating point value, isn't it? So fundamentally, under supervised learning, you have a labeled data, isn't it? So that's why it is called supervised learning. Unsupervised learning means the algorithms lens from the data to unearth hidden patterns. For example, clustering techniques. So what is clustering here? Let me take an example. Suppose you have this purchase behavior of the people on e-commerce platforms, right? Something like Flipkart or Amazon, right? Then what happens through web session tracking? These websites, they try to figure out your areas of interest and purchase behavior so that they can recommend some personalized offers, right? Similarly, they want to do some segmentation of the customers based on the purchase capacity, right? So like premium customers in the case of Amazon, etc., right? So that is something, you create some kind of a hierarchy within the customer segments, which that can be hierarchical based clustering. And you wanted to create groups, right? You want to create certain groups, then it is like partition based clustering. But predominantly the algorithms on partition based clustering are based on spherical distribution of the data. Why spherical distribution of the data? Because they are based on the distance measures. So let me explain what is distance measure here. Uh, Let me share. So, so we are talking about clustering, right? Where we are saying that partition based, right? So you have some uh, different set of clusters, right? This is set of points, and you have another set of points here, right? And you have another set of points, right? Now you want to, the problem is when you are applying these clustering algorithms upfront, a priori, you don't know how many clusters this data actually fits in, right? So there are techniques to figure that out. We are not getting into those details, but what you look at is cluster quality. So how do you measure cluster quality? You take the ratio of uh, points within the cluster, the distance of the points within the cluster to the separation distance, right? How far they are separated out, right? So this is something very important, but not necessarily that all the data points can be spherically symmetric. So you have something like, a smear of these data points. This is basically a density based clustering, right? So when you look at density based clustering, then you need to use a different measure, right? So this is this is a kind of local proximity, right? You take small radius, something like epsilon kind of a thing, and you try to include the points which are called core points, and you have another set of points which are called boundary points and all that, right? So density based clustering is something which is not necessarily satisfying this kind of requirement, right? Another problem with the partition based clustering means they are distance based, right? What is the distance? Why it is spherical distributed? Any data point you take, xi minus xj whole square plus ya minus yj whole square, it will be like this, right? Depending upon how many features we have. So this is a locus of this equation is a sphere, isn't it? If you take three dimension, but if you take n dimensions, if you have n features, then it is a kind of a globe kind of a thing. So that's how this concept of spherical distribution is coming into picture, right? So that is about clustering. Now there is something called association analysis, right? Association analysis. So association analysis means suppose you have a grocery store. Now you look at basically the transactions, right? Somebody has done some transactions with transaction IDs like this, and you see items here. Like you take some example like bread, cheese, milk, right? Jam, and then soaps, something like that, right? Now another transaction is you see bread and jam, and another transaction you see bread, jam, and then you see something like coffee, right? And like that. So what you want to do in association rule mining is that given a person purchase some items like bread and milk, what are the chances of this person buy, let's say, jam? Or if you want to be more practical, let us take bread and jam. If the person is purchasing this, what are the chances that he will buy milk? Why this is more interesting than this? Because milk has to be consumed in a particular span of time, right? So as a grocery store, you don't want to waste your products, and because of that, you wanted to recommend certain competitive pricing, right? For example, if you take 1 liter of milk along with bread and jam, you will get 50% off, something like that on milk. I'm just giving an example, right? So association rule mining is very important in business use case standpoint. Similarly, suppose let me take a real example. Assume that I give my own example of recommendation systems, right? Suppose I have different accounts, and each account skill set is different. They might require different set of trainings. Now, I can model this problem to association rule mining. For example, people who actually having the current skills of, let's say, Java and Hibernate, and I wanted to know, right, what are the more adjacent skills for reducing their learning cycle, right, learning curve. So that is something connected with this, right? So the but in that case, the rule mining is something I need to do using my domain knowledge, isn't it? So association rule mining is another fantastic technique. And apart from that, we also have techniques such as collaborative filtering, right? So when you say collaborative filtering, there are two types of collaborative filtering. One is item based. So these are developed by Amazon in early 2000 actually. I'm just giving basic algorithms, okay? There are a lot of variants obviously if you look at now. Then user based, right? So again, you don't actually give something like data like with labels and all that, because these techniques are slightly uh, different, right? You basically look at a set of candidate items, and then you kind of look at the similarity measure between the items, similarity measures between the users, and say that like you normally you see, right, in Flipkart or Amazon, that people who purchased this item, they also purchased some other thing. And similarly, uh, the item that you purchase, a set of people, they also purchase this item, so on and so forth, right? So you basically you look at the personalization of consider personalization aspects, considering the interests of the people, um, right? And based on that, you can also do some kind of demand forecasting, isn't it? So these are the few algorithms that we are talking about. Now you see on the other side of the slide something called reinforcement learning, right? So in reinforcement learning, what happens is it is based on one interesting concept is there in reinforcement learning. What that is that you basically, yeah, as an agent, you interact with your environment, and based on that you take some actions, right. So to give an example, assume that I have a grid world problem, right, something like this. So here I have some, I have a lion, right, and here I have some diamond, right. Now you see that suppose somebody is standing here. Now the idea is that this fellow has to, if he gets this diamond, he will get maximum reward, let's say plus 100. Now for that he will make sequence of actions, right. He can go this way, this way, this way, and this way, right. Similarly, he can take this step, and this step. This is a negative reward, isn't it? Because you have danger here, right. So what does it mean? Here, at a given point of time, you are modeling a certain application which can take some decisions uh, based on the interaction with the environment, right? So in this case, you define what we call a policy. This policy is represented by pi of taking an action given the state. This pi is a probability distribution. Sorry, these actions are probability distributions. Why probability distributions? Because at a particular state, the agent can have multiple options to choose from. So they follow certain probability distributions. In this case, what are the actions? We are talking about multiple actions, right? So you formulate the problem with states and actions. In this case, actions are moving left, moving up, moving down, moving right, right? Similarly, the states are, you can think of state is something like this, coordinates of this, right? But the way you model this agent is that the agent will perform certain tasks starting from start in state 0, then you take an action, and then you go to state 1. As you realize a reward R1, then you take another action A2, you realize another reward R2, then go to S2 and so on. Then finally you terminate this. That means either this fellow is getting eaten by a lion, or he will be coming out with flying covers. So these kind of tasks are episodic tasks, but there are continuous tasks. I don't want to get into all that. I just want to explain you basic formalism. Now, for each of these states, you have probability distributions. Because of that, what we define is uh, transition probability, right? You define a transition probability given that you are in state S, you are taking an action A. Now you want to move to state S prime with a reward realization of R. That means I am at state A and I'm taking an action A, and I'm going to state S prime with a realization of the reward R. What is the probability of this, right? This is the distribution function we are talking about. But most important thing that you need to understand is in these kind of finite episodic tasks, there is very important property, that is Markov property, right? What is Markov property? Markov property says that your uh, your future your future reward will be depending upon the current state and current action you are taking, right? That is very very important, right? Even Bhagavad Gita also we come across that, right? What the action that you take at this moment is going to decide your future, right? Not your past. That is Marcos chain property, which says that I am at a particular state, yes, right? And when I'm here, it doesn't matter. This fellow, yes, will have a entire context. I am here because of various things that I did, isn't it? For example, your faculty, right? Your faculty because you did lot of things, right? You did your masters, you did PhDs, you published papers, right? And then because of that, you are in the current state. Now, the action that you take, suppose you don't learn AML now, right? That means you are perceiving what the reward that you perceive will be very less, isn't it? So from the current state, you have set of actions available. Now, choosing an action from the current state is what matters, not the past. That's why memory is not coming into picture in this kind of problems, right? Like if those who are familiar with the concept of memory in recurrent neural networks and all that stuff, right? We have the concept of memory where you deal with sequential data, where you need to know permutation of the words that are coming into this, right? But this is not like that. But every time you take question saying that, okay, this is my current state, what will be the uh, action that they choose at this point in time? So it is not that you are training this agent by assigning some numbers as rewards, right? You enable the agent to learn from the environment. In the grid world problem, what is environment? This is the environment, right? So this is a very simple problem. These kind of models are called model-based policy evaluation, right? We are basically in reinforcement learning, the crux of the whole thing is coming up with the policy, right? So these policies, sometimes what happens, you may not deal with this kind of small grid world problems, right? In real life, you cannot accommodate all the state space into this kind of small grids, right? Your state space can be very, very complex, isn't it? So in that case, what you do is that I want to develop certain policies without this kind of models, right? So that's where neural networks comes into picture. We will be studying all these things tomorrow, right? So then your policy will become a p theta of a given s, where theta is your network model parameters. So now you see, when we talked about supervised learning, we said that you learn y is equal to f of x, and f is a linear function or any complex function. So again, you have some parameters in this, and same way you have parameters here. So fundamental philosophy of all entire discipline that you look at, you deal with complex data, you deal with parameters. That is the most important thing. That's how this particular thing is a kind of differentiator compared to traditional computation, right? So any questions, please ask me now. Okay, reinforcement learning, have you understood this? Rajendra Patil, am I audible? Yeah, very good. Thank you. So have you understood now this slide? Because this slide looks only black box, I mean, set of boxes, but there is so much attached to these boxes. So please ask me if you have any question before I move further. Yeah. Now, when you look at AML ecosystem, AI is basically, I already explained this. Data science it is a discipline where predominantly you will be looking at deriving insights from the data. So you want to extract relevant features, right? And machine learning, these are the family of algorithms. But across all these type of algorithms, you need these necessary skills, whether it is math or model development or data visualization, things like that, right? To certain proportion. Now, how do we look at machine learning life cycle, right? Let me explain this. So here, this is the typical life cycle when you have just a minute. When you have uh, a problem, first thing is that you establish your goal, right? What is the business problem that you want to solve? Then you capture the data. Data can come from either internal sources or external sources, isn't it? And then you prepare the data. Data preparation involves a whole bunch of things. One is data cleaning, other one is data transformations, and then other one is, data aggregation, isn't it? So data cleansing means that you try to see whether there are missing values in the data or abnormal values in the data. If there are abnormal values, you try to fix them. And in the data transformation, what you do, you try to construct new features from existing set of features, right? Best example for this case is, suppose I have a feature called height. I have a feature called weight. Now using these two features, I can construct a new feature called BMI, right? Which is basically height by weight square or something like that, right? So that means I can construct a new feature. The reason I am constructing this new feature is that sometimes you see this new feature is able to explain your variable y in a much better way than any of these individual features. So that's why data transformation is very important. Data aggregation is also important because data aggregation help you to understand the general trend. For example, it's like, you want to do some, assume that you are talking about, let us say, some cancer data set, right? Now we want to see that uh, the y value is a boolean. 0 means that person is not having cancer. 1 means the person potentially might be having cancer, right? Now I can do aggregation here saying that I will group by gender. Sorry. And then do the count. That means if I take male, how many of them are, what is the total number of males? What the percent of the people are having this disease? Similarly, female, how many percent? But that aggregation gives me additional insights in terms of who are who are more likely to have higher risk, right? So then we'll be exploring the data using certain visualization techniques, things like, scatter plot, right? When you look at scatter plot, what is scatter plot? You have two features. So this look like, this is the scatter plot, right? The spatial distribution of the data points based on these values, right? Now, suppose if your scatter plot is something like this, right? What does it mean? They are following some line, right? So they are strongly correlated in a linear way. Now, suppose if you take this particular thing, right? So there's no such relationship, right? Then you say x1 and x2 are independent of each other, right? So like that, you have also line graph. Suppose you want to see screen is not shared. Hello, are you able to see the PPT? Then why screen is not shared? People are saying. So if you look at something like this, right? A trend line, right? So you will know what is the trend for the forecasting model. So can you confirm whether you are able to see the slide? Yes means can you see the slide? You say I can see the slide. By some people it is not visible. Prithvirajan is saying no. Mona is saying no. Why it is? Maybe can you refresh actually from your end? Because others are able to see, right? Next thing is model building, right? How you construct the model. Basically, you select a model, then you run the model, and finally evaluate the model using some sample test data, right? So this is how it is. Now, of course, when you want to present the findings, it can be multiple ways. These are the tools, right? Now we want to see ML tools. What are they? Data cleansing. You have certain tools like NumPy and Pandas. Data visualization, reporting. You have something like Matplotlib and Power BI, for example, right? And Microsoft Power BI and machine learning algorithms. For machine learning algorithms, you have something like scikit-learn, right? NLP, there's NLTK toolkit, so on and so forth. Now, let us understand the concept of GPU and sorry. Let us understand the concept of GPU and CPU. What is the difference? In the case of GPU, you have high computational power because you have many cores in this. Now, whereas CPU, you have a limited number of cores, right? That's the main difference. Now, when you think of frameworks that are available, there are many frameworks that are available. This is a kind of comparison, right? So, for example, TensorFlow, right? This is useful for deep learning models, right? You can develop pipelines. You can develop pipelines and There are certain variants of that also you have, isn't it? So then PyTorch again deep learning framework. This is useful for rapid prototyping, right? Now scikit-learn is typical machine learning library support you have, where you can execute traditional machine learning tasks, right? So like that. Then deployment, right? There are certain deployment tools also. Then ML ops, when you look at, there are ML flow, uh, which has features such as runs metrics and artifacts, comes under experimental tracking and registering the model. Now weights and biases is another thing, which is predominantly for experimental tracking, and then Kubeflow, right? ML pipeline orchestrator, which is kind of a which is native thing coming from Kubernetes. Then you have Apache Airflow, right? So now when you talk about model types, right, we talked about two types of models, discriminative models and generative models. In the case of discriminative models, use them either for a classification problem or a regression or prediction problem. And they require labeled data to be trained, and eventually the models will predict labels, right? So why it is discriminative? Because they kind of uh, discriminate, differentiate between various data instances, right? Any question here? Let me see the chart. Please ask questions. PPT that we will share towards the end, right? No question. Okay, good. Ah, yeah. Label data means it is like this. Let me take an example. Suppose I am taking an example of predicting the price of the house, price, right? Competitive pricing of some houses in a gated community. So for that you have features like number of rooms, number of bedrooms, right? And then water facility, city proximity is there or not. These are all features. Finally, you have a price here. And of course, you have a construction area also. So when you look at this, you are predicting the price. You take something like 1500 SFT, for example. Then two rooms, one bedroom. Yes, city, yes. We say some 60 lakhs. So this is the kind of training data. Using this kind of training data, you want to predict the competitive price for given set of features. Is this clear? Label data. Bhavani Shankar? Not Bhavani Shankar. Who asked that question? Oh, okay. Now let us understand the concept of large language models. So what are the large language models? Uh, they are basically pre-trained. They are pre-trained and fine-tuned for a specific purpose, right? So these are the typical workloads in large language models. You just go through this. I don't want to just read. Uh, you just see whether you are able to understand or not. So most important thing in LLMs is transformer models. Transformer models are based on what we call attention architecture, right? These are based on the principle of attention. Attention. What is attention? Suppose you have a sequence of words, right? Let us say I'm talking about movie reviews, right? Now I will say that this movie is very good and BGM is excellent. Now, what attention model will do when it is looking at some kind of a sentiment analysis, positive or negative, it will catch these two words, excellent and good, right? So basically, transformer models, what they do, they try to capture most dominant uh, words and the context associated with these dominant words. Any question you have on this? Yeah. Now, someone asks a couple of questions about discriminative model and generative model, right? Let me put it here. Let me share screen. Don't worry, I will share the screen. Okay. Are you able to understand, everybody? Now, since some of you are asking generative and discriminative model, let me explain here. So let us look at discriminative model first. As I said, if you are looking at two features, x1 and x2, and assume that I have some, I'm dealing with binary classification problem with some positive examples like this and negative examples. Let me put, these are the negative examples. Now I can draw a line, something like this. right? So the points above this line represents one class, points below this line represent another class, right? So something like this. Then you say that, let's say this is X, this is Y. Then you try to see that how do I minimize this error, right? So you try to minimize this error saying that assume that my predicted value minus actual value, I can take square of that, right? This difference for each example. And you sum over all such errors. Yeah, getting something from ChatGPT is a kind of generative task. Uh, Others, like for example, discriminative model means you should have a mathematical equation. Not necessarily you should say clustering as a discriminative, because within the cluster also you can have a distribution, right? Let me finish this, then I will explain that. So this is the error you calculate and you want to minimize this. Right? So in the process of minimization, you will get these weight values, right? Because this is nothing but omega x plus some constant. So you will say that in y predicted minus y actual, you put omega x plus c and you try to get the weight values. That's how model will be learning from the data. Now, generative model means, for example, suppose I have a data set, right, with features d features and you have y value, right? Now, assume that, let us say the y value, some of them are positive, some of them are negative, right? Now, you pick up all the positive examples, let us say. So, this is one positive example. P3, P4, P7. Now, if you take these data points and try to construct, then these data points will follow a distribution, right? Similarly, if you take class is equal to negative, then it might have some other distribution, right? So when any new point, how that distribution look like? One example is you can think of normal distribution, right? And normal distribution of x, given that mean and variance, you can write this as exponential of x minus mu whole square by 2 sigma square. Whether sigma is then 2 sigma square. Now, when you are given a new probability distribution, similarly, when you say, let's say this is plus positive examples. For negative examples, similarly, have a new minus sigma minus sigma x minus mu minus whole square by 2 sigma minus square. That means they are different. Now, any new data point is given, you try to put this x new in this distribution as well as in this distribution. Whichever is giving max highest among these two, you say that the x belongs to that particular class. Have you understood now? Generative versus discriminative model. Any other question? Any other question also you can ask. Uh, no, no, automatically that gets recorded, I think. That you can check with uh, the madam, right? Sometimes you will see these discriminative models are more powerful, right? Let me show you one example. Suppose I have one-dimensional data. No, no, that depends upon the data distribution, right? What I said, J Lakshmi, I think Professor J Lakshmi, right? You have like this, and you have Y. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. You pick up all positive examples and try to construct a distribution. That is your positive distribution. Similarly, you construct similar distribution for the negative values. By looking at the data distribution, you try to fit to a function, data distribution function, right? These are called data generators, right? Are you getting this? It depends upon the data distribution. Correct. Now, this Poisson distribution, Gaussian, they are given by some functions, right? But real data, they may not, that might not actually fit to these distributions. You may have to slightly fit that, right? You have to you have to fit that distribution to that equation. Any other question? Shall we proceed? Yeah. Let me go to the slide. We'll go back to the slide. Now, how does, uh, can you see the slide? Hello? Are you able to see the slide? Yeah. This is typically how a generative model look like. You have some data, text data, for example, which will be converted into a input vector, and then that data is given to model data generator, generative model, and data generative model will create a new data example, but you wanted to use a discriminative model to compare that generated data, how close it to the real data. And continuously you fine tune the model so that your data quality of the content that is generated is something within the limits. Any question here? This is very important. How exactly a generative model works, right? Let me put this here. Now, these are the various models, the generative umbrella, right? One is the density-based models, approximation models, then explicit density-based models, implicit density-based models, variational autoencoders, then flow-based models, so on and so forth. So we'll be looking at these things. The next slide. Now look at here. What is explicit density model? That you can see here, right? These models explicitly define and calculate the probability density, isn't it? So allowing them directly estimate likelihood of the any data point, which particular distribution it belongs to, right? Now, implicit density model, because they are trained to bypass the difficult task of calculating the density. So these models basically focus on the generation of realistic data. Right? So is the case. I don't want to read out all this. So this is what we have. Let us see that how uh, how to choose different uh, models, right? Supervised learning models, let us say. Here we have classification tasks, right? Regression models. So there are multiple regression models are there, but we don't get into that. But in the classification setup, you need to know how do you evaluate the performance of the model, right? That is important. So assume that in this model you have some actual y values, right? So you have y actual and you have predicted. Within y, it can be positive or it can be negative. Similarly, here it can be positive, negative. So when you just split this into regions, this region, you look at, this indicates model correctly predicting as positive. That means count number of instances where the model correctly predicts as positive. Suppose I have 25 records which are positive. Actually, they are positive. Now, let us suppose you have this region. The actual example is negative, but model is predicting as positive. That means model is incorrectly predicting as positive. False positive means. Predict as positive. Now, similarly, what about this region? Actual class label is positive, model predict as negative. So model is incorrectly predicted as negative. This cell is number of instances in bracket examples where number of instances where the model incorrectly predicted as negative. What about this region? Actual class label of that instance is negative. Model is also predicting as negative, which is too negative. Like the way it is too positive. Are you getting? So now you define certain measures like precision, P divided by 2 positive by P predicted. So recall you define as TP by P actual. There is one more method called F1 score, which is given by 2 times harmonic mean of precision and recall. Right? So this is one of the important thing that you wanted to understand really when it comes to measuring the performance of the model. Right? Have you understood this? Now there is one more parameter called accuracy. This is nothing but true positive plus plus all the quantities. So typically these are the performance measures. So your assessment perspective, these formulas make sense. They are important. Please just try to understand this. So let me take some numerical example. One minute. I'm just sharing my screen. See this. So I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen? So you have some example. Let me. What happened? This is how you calculate precision, recall, and all that. So to start with, this is the actual class. Actual class no. Predicted class yes. Predicted class no. This is true positive. This is true negative. False positive. False negative. This is mistake actually. Uh, this is false. Actually yes. Incorrectly no. False negative is fine. This is false positive actually. Typo here. And of course, you can implement in here, right? Is about Geek for Geeks is a very good thing actually, right? Let me copy this link. I will just put it here in the chart. So here you just look at, you will get all the concepts, you know, here. So any other question and answers? Anything that you want to ask? Please ask me. So I am done for today's session and let us take Q&A now. Uh, she will explain. No? In 2 minutes, I think she will join. Probably she will explain. Give me a minute.
Yes, I'm here. 1 second. Yes, I think you're done with your session.
Yeah, just I finished. Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yes.
Good
Hello,
evening, good
sir.
Yeah.
evening.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
sir.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
How are
So, can
you?
I?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
madam,
Thank
can
you
I
so
log out?
much.
Thank you,
Yes,
madam.
yes, sir. Please do share your presentation with
Yeah, I will
me.
share after this. I will share. Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we still have couple of minutes, so I'll just, sir, take these couple of minutes to explain about future skills. There are some questions, so if you allow me, I'll just do that. Okay. So everyone, okay. Ankit Koyani ji and some of you are saying that email ID is showing uh, invalid. So your email ID is the one which is registered on Atal. What happens sometimes we have an educational an ID from college. Then we have a Gmail ID. Then we have a Yahoo ID. So maybe on Zoom your some other ID is configured. Please log into Future Skills Prime with your email ID, which is registered on Atal. So suppose my email ID is, which is on Atal, is suppose it is, uh, yes, I will explain the whole process. Just listen to what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. So for example, if it's ankit@gmail.com with which you have registered on Atal. So in Future Skills Prime, ankit@gmail.com is your login ID and ankit@gmail.com is your password also. So, I hope that is clear. Don't use the password which you might be using in some other website. Your email ID, suppose it's ankit@gmail.com, then ankit@gmail.com is your login ID and password, both for login ID and password for Future Skills Prime. It's the same we are trying. Okay, okay, I'm repeating the whole process. Just allow me to repeat this process for you. I'm sharing my screen. And if you are not able to do it, then I'll request you to. Is it working for anyone? I'm just sharing, just listen and then we'll take it forward from there. So you go on Future Skills Prime, okay, and you log in, okay. You can see my screen, I hope. You cannot see my screen. You can see my screen, okay, fine. Then you log in. Suppose it's email, your email ID which is registered on Atal is suppose, let's say, Nirmala. Suppose it is nirmala@gmail.com. Oh, okay. Then type here Nirmal log in also. You log in with this nirmala@gmail.com and nirmala@gmail.com is your login ID as well as your password. Okay. Then you will log in. I log in because my login ID is already created. So I will log in here and then I go to groups. Those who joined late, those of you who joined after Friday, maybe your IDs are not created right now. We will help to create those. By tomorrow, we will create those as well. Right now, if you many of you have joined after Friday. You registered on Natal after Friday. So your email IDs probably are not created. We'll work on it. The team is working on it. Will be done by tomorrow. You go on groups and then you in groups you type here AICTE. Okay. So when you type AICTE and search, you will get your group. This is your group. Please see if you let me know if you can see this group. Just type yes if you can see this. Hi, Chikalaji, when did you register? If you registered after Friday, it will not be working. Kanchanji, when did you register? Which day did you register? Kirtanaji, if you join on Zoom, that is your attendance is marked from there, okay? Yeah. So here you go. You'll see three cards here. So first card is your course. This is mandatory. And this third card is the assessment, which you will take after you finish the first card. You finish the first card and then you take the third card. So that's all there is to it. And I'll stop share. If you still are not able to access, just allow us time till tomorrow. Or those whose email IDs are not created, we will create it by tomorrow. And yeah, you will have to share some details about yourself, your Aadhaar ID and all. Yeah, deadline to finish is Friday because by Saturday you have to take the exam. We cannot register you. You have to register yourself, Marla Agnes ji on Atal. Okay. Password is your email ID only. So I'll stop the share now, and it's time for Dr. Gopal's session. So over to you, Dr. Gopal. Dr. Gopal, just to introduce briefly, so you need to scroll your camera a little bit down.
Is
We
that
cannot see your
so?
face. Yeah, yeah. Please
Okay, okay, okay.
just
Mm.
just pull the screen a little towards yourself. That's all.
Oh, yes. Is that fine?
Yes, much
Thank
better.
you.
Much
Thank you
better.
very much.
Yes. So Dr. Gopal is joining us from Hyderabad
Hyderabad.
or Vijayawada? Hyderabad.
Hyderabad.
Yes. He's with Mahindra University now. He's ex Anna University and he has a wealth of experience before, rich experience of more than 30 years. Uh, and he has kindly consented to take this session. So just wait till tomorrow for your login IDs. Okay, just do the course right now, those who can access, and I will explain it again tomorrow. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kamna. It's a pleasure and it's indeed wonderful to be doing this lecture again a third consecutive time, but with a lot of changes. The other lectures are also there on the YouTube. Kamna keeps on sending the mails about WhatsApp messages regularly on how to catch up with the earlier lectures. Some slides did change, and consequently, the flow of the lecture changes each time. Hopefully, we'll have a three-pointed understanding about a very important topic, ChatGPT for Excel, that's today the lifeline of many, many institutions. And we are addressing it very simply by bringing in the early days. It's a fact of life that fiscal discipline is very important, and each one of us who were managing some kind of finances were taught the first lesson. I was way back in 88, 89. I was definitely practicing this idea of jotting down the expenses on a given day. And I was a research associate in an organization, and I had to jot down these expenses. Not the heads. Heads of account have been changed. A little more manual than a formal notebook. This has to be done every day. About 25 people were there, and we will have to sit down together at the end of the week with the accounts person to get it done in a bigger exercise. A simple idea is this, just about five heads of account and daily expenses, running expenses. A more complicated idea is having more heads of account. By default, the manager in that organization would have many more heads of account. Only a few heads of account have gone operational on a given day. For others, every head of account will go operational every day. So they'll have jottings in every head of account and column. But for the manager, it is not so. It will not have all entries. Some are blanks. That's how it is. And at the end of the week, about 125 such pages will reach the accounts section, accounts desk, which is not a big organization, just about 25 people. The accounts desk is putting together, collating all these into what's called a ledger. Ledgers emerged in the 4th millennium BC as Sumerian cuneiform clay tablets. The pivotal shift was the Italian or double entry system. That's what I was explaining. It's Italian, a double entry bookkeeping system where one person, each individual has some book, however complicated, however simple it is, in terms of number of rows and columns, how many cells will eventually get filled. That's a different exercise based on the role, job role. So these things will be put together into another bigger book with the accounts desk at the end of every week. It's called a general ledger. Luca Piccoli of Italy popularized double entry bookkeeping, defining the structure of the general ledger as a book lying or remaining regularly in one place. So all the 25 people have posted into the next ledger, individual ledger, big ledger, the general ledger, and the general ledger is used for further processing. The transition from physical books to computerized systems and ultimately decentralized, immutable blockchain technology which resolves issues with trust. This is what I found on the community.nascom.in, but the spreadsheet began it all. This is readily amenable for those who are familiar with spreadsheets to how the idea of spreadsheets directly maps into this accounting, and therefore it's no wonder that the entire institution runs around the idea called spreadsheet. How to collate them, post it in another ledger, those are matters of different idea, different technology. But let's go ahead with that. Straight away, we must understand that between trust and confidence, there's a lot of gap. It's a proverbial gap between the cup and the lip. What we want is trust in financial institutions, but what we are really building is the confidence in financial institutions. Assurance in the context of personal experience, predictability of regulated processes. Financial institutions generically mean many institutions. Can be either addressable or non-addressable. No sense of vulnerability because no recognition of agency. So what we have begun as a goal called trust, with the advances in managing these ledgers, computerization, exceedingly well-crafted software, with all these things, we are doing some confidence building measures. Trust is still what we have to build as people. So trust involves agency of the trustee puts the truster in a situation of vulnerability. Here there is no sense of vulnerability. We are trying to build confidence. Let's see how we progress. The accountant's paper ledger, the big sheets of paper, spread out the sheets, permits storing figures. So it keeps doing that. That's what I said. Each individual has a book, double entry bookkeeping, and then big book called the general ledger. It looks more complete with whatever individuals have posted, whatever different role players have posted. Put them together, the big book speaks it all. At the end of month, we know everything about what has happened in the organization reading through these heads of accounts. Big sheets of paper, the accountant's paper ledger. Sometimes we used to get a helping hand, but that's all fine. Understandably, one of my very early exercises was as I was teaching office automation to help the accounts person push everything into what is called the Lotus 123. That we'll see later. At that time, Lotus 123 was a very nice spreadsheet. Now, it's still nowhere near confidence building. It is still a tool that will help us post all these data, retrieve all these data, and this is found only on the accountant's machine, nobody else. We created some simple formulae. It's not such a big ask because the organization doesn't change its direction every now and then. It's something which is valid for every year. The ideas are understood. Then we see how the LANPAR, language for programming arrays at random, is widely recognized as the first electronic spreadsheet application developed in 1969 by René Pardo and Remy Landau. It's something which is very interesting. We see the big ledger having some heads of account, some cells filled, some not filled, depends on the role. How do I process them? The accounts person has a knack of asking some queries, putting things together. Why is the food expense so large in this category of people? Everything becomes very easy. But how nice it will be if we can program and simply query. It was designed to solve the issue of manual, tedious, and time-consuming budgeting for companies like Bell Canada and AT&T. Before Landpower making changes to budget models, it took weeks or months for programmers to do this exercise, the same exercise. It is now distributed. Please remember that the way in which the general ledger got distributed is automatically understood. From physical books to computerized systems, that much I could do way back in 89 for our own small organization with about 25 to 30 people and segregate them as roles. Quickly, the accounts person will find out in a month, 6 months, 7 months, a good analytics will happen. But then as the organizations grew larger, heads of account, the tabulation became, it's not a spreadsheet, it's a tabulation. Ledger is it's more of a tabulation. As the tabulation became more and more complicated like this, what happened was we were moving away from the goal of trust to building confidence in the method, and we persisted. Even today, it is what we are able to achieve. We are confident about making this distributed, making all these pieces come together in our minds through a simple method language for programming arrays at random. Any which way, there is no need to sequence which of is first, which of is second. There is no need to sequence the people. There is no need to sequence the heads of account. Everything is just a program, and all of them collate together, and we built in confidence. It was created specifically to automate the budgeting process for large corporations on mainframe computers a decade before VisiCalc brought spreadsheets to personal computers. Landpar was a trailblazer in the mainframe era. Pardo and Landau filed a patent in 1970. After 12 years of litigation, they won a landmark case in 1983, establishing that algorithms in software were patentable. It was very important for them. It's the first software patent that has come to such prominence. You see, what they are doing is addressing the lifeline of every organization. What are the kind of organizations? Bell Canada, AT&T, large companies, global companies, multinationals. And they are promising that any way, any random way in which you pick any two sequence of organizations, branches, branch offices, desks, we will be able to put them together. A very important case, very responsibly handled, and they won a patent, software patent. So Landpar and simplistic idea, 99 columns, 999 rows. Boxes are constant. Each of these was called a box. Cell is almost an Excel term. They were called boxes. The boxes can be constants. The boxes can get an input from the user. The boxes can be calculations. So where there is an input, it tells automatically, the Landpar tells this cell you can input, this you can't input. This is a constant, this is a calculation. So we are all very clear that there are four types of categories. And with this, the Landpar was managing the budgeting process of several eminent multinationals on mainframes. So they were all amenable to being punched onto the cards, the Hollerith cards. Mainframes were always operating on Hollerith cards. The input devices need not change. Everything can be given right into them, and it works. Landpower features forward referencing. Whichever cell you talk about it, if this is calculated earlier, use the value. It's a revolutionary concept in 1969. Natural order recalculation had to calculate left to right, top to bottom, could calculate the correct order regardless of where the formula was located. There is no need for doing horizontal, vertical. It's largely to avoid the mistakes done by accountant as a human being, we created all these rules, the rules of writing into general ledger, the rules of writing into your notebook for daily expenses. Interactive operation, although not a WYSIWYG graphical interface like later PC tools, it was used interactively via terminals and modems when in 1969, where the machines were very rugged, very huge, input devices were not so sophisticated. It was a great idea and it produced a software patent to establish, after 12, 13 years of a court case, 12 years of litigation, every point was examined and it was cleared as a software patent, which they won. It was an important case. Dan Bricklin in 1951 and VisiCalc. 1979, it was created by Dan Bricklin, a visible calculator for Apple II. It pushed sales of personal computers. See, what they did was we don't have to go through a mainframe. It's an Apple II, which has a great interface and it works very calmly in terms of the way the user interface almost tallies with what is called what you see, what you get a feeling that you are actually working with a ledger. Whereas in LandPAR, it was not. You have to look at this interface and think, visualize that you are really doing a table. Whatever you have tabulated as your accounts. Difficult interface, but it was working. People were there to post all that you want in the tabulated form onto the punched cards and then the mainframe processes. Now, this is the first advantage. Apple came out with a visible calculator. It appears just like what you have been tabulating, either in double entry bookkeeping. VisiCalc was the first electronic spreadsheet software released in 1979 for the Apple II and is credited with driving the early adoption of personal computers in business by transforming manual financial analysis into an interactive automatic process for creating what if. Suddenly, I want to change one cell. I will quickly see where it is reflected. But then it is my understanding I should mark out what is the connection between a cell where I want to change the value and what are the other cells that are impacted. Automatically it changes. Very important. How is it happening? By connecting the cells. This is what was called forward referencing. And once you change it, it changes in every cell that you have connected. A change in this cell value implies changes in other cells that you have already defined. How did VisiCalc happen? In an interview, Rick Bicklin told how he got the idea of creating VisiCalc. In the classroom at the university, he watched the professor draw a table on the blackboard where he entered the results of the calculations. When an error was discovered in the calculations, the teacher had to erase and re-enter the contents of several lines for a long time. It's understandable that if there is an error in one of those cells, one of those calculations, it's a big tedium to correct where and all it goes. So this gave young Bricklin the idea that this process could be replicated on a computer. Developed by Ted Bricklin and Bob Frankston, it organized data in a grid of rows and columns, allowing automatic recalculation when a number changed. A revolutionary feature that laid the groundwork for modern spreadsheet programs like Excel. This was the forerunner. LandPAR did the first massive exercise of getting every line in that software, go through a litigation, get a patent to prove that it's possible. It's possible to maintain all this in a distributed manner. The sequencing of which office comes first is of no consequence. We can do the budgeting for a large multinational organization. This is the black and white story of soft arts. Again in 1979, the user interface became a bit more sophisticated. Please look at the bottom of the screen. You will see some function keys. So some exercise has happened in terms of focusing on the user interface. This is readily appealing. This is exactly what we have been writing. Now it's a computerized table. It's a computerized exercise, which looks like what you're doing on the regular pen and paper work. Something which is akin to what we have been attempting to do using the accounts desk. Now you see the interface has improved. The interface now shows some function keys. Press that function key, a bigger activity will happen. A bigger action will happen. So it has become much more robust. It has gone to the top. The common user access idea also stemmed from IBM. Today, all Microsoft Office products have a similar looking interface. You learn one, you get familiar with one interface, it does everything with the same interface. It's a great progress in the way the interface has changed. So right on the top, you have file, edit, style, graph, and the spreadsheet. You can have multiple spreadsheets. All these were there. In the case of Apple, you can produce multiple spreadsheet one-on-one. In the case of Microsoft, those spreadsheets are all listed at the bottom of your screen. A spreadsheet, B spreadsheet. You have to click on that to see that spreadsheet. We wish that suddenly, like in Apple, if you have two spreadsheets, you should be able to see both of them simultaneously. We can contrive the tricks, but then it happened like that. The interface was a supremely brilliant idea in terms of managing how the rows and columns are visible, how the function keys which are operating on the rows and columns are readily visible. You don't have to think, you don't have to memorize, and you can look at multiple spreadsheets coming at the bottom of your screen, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. And here you have an Apple interface where both of them come together, accounts data, cash budget. Both of them can come together. Then came the next idea 1 year after the success of VisiCalc. SuperCalc is a spreadsheet developed and introduced by Sourcim Limited in 1980. It was first included along with the Osborne One portable microcomputer, the CP bar M, that's control program for microcomputers. CP bar M itself was a pioneering mass market operating system created by Gary Kildall. SuperCalc appeared as a competitor to
Sir, your
VisiCalc.
screen is not visible. Sir, your PPT is not visible. I think you need to share it.
My goodness, how did it happen like that? Okay. Is it just now?
Yeah, just people are messaging.
Okay.
I think
Is it visible now?
no, you'll need to share it.
Oh, I see. Uh, okay.
Yeah, now
Just
it
give
will
me
come.
just give me a couple of minutes. I don't know how it happened,
Yes,
but anyway, let's see.
it's
Okay. Okay. All right. We shall go ahead with the when 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay. So sorry, I'm extremely sorry for that. I didn't realize how it happened. So this is the way we have progressed in the discussion so far. What we are seeing here is a tabulated page for every individual who is working in an office, limited rows, limited columns. This will go further into what is called a larger page if the role demands more heads of account, more days to operate on, more blank cells will be happening depending on the role. And all these for each individual in organization are properly collated and placed in a general ledger, so double entry bookkeeping. From these physical books to computerized systems and ultimately decentralized, immutable blockchain technology, which resolves issues with trust. The goal was trust, but what we ended up with is confidence. We are only doing confidence building measures. Blockchain is a confidence machine. Trust involves people. People have to be built in. Decision in the context of uncertainty or complexity. It's a good paper, Technology in Society. Elsevier's publication. It's a very good paper to look up. The essence of it is we have attempted trust in this idea of bookkeeping with people. Then on automation, when we started working on computerized systems, decentralized immutable blockchain technology, it has become what is called oriented towards a confidence. It's a confidence machine that we are building. So the paper ledger is over. LandPAR, language for programming arrays at random. As I have described, that ledger, which is rows and columns, can be anywhere, in any branch office, anywhere over the world. Multinational companies are operating, and on mainframes, LandPAR was so important and so wisely done in terms of a litigation as well, that we have found that it is possible to do this automatically, computerize at each local office, and we'll collate them together in mainframes. The user interface was not so clean. This is what I wish to make it happen, rows and columns, but this is how it goes into the machine. So there's a need to punch them into this form of cards. And while it is not so obvious, I wish to see the spreadsheet like this, something like this. It was not even called a spreadsheet. It's something, which we are able to do. It's a language. The focus was on the language. So this becomes a language in which you can express to the mainframe, communicate to the mainframe. This is what I want to do. I want to connect these cells. I want to disconnect these cells. I want to do some exercise. But then it is all done on the punched cards, though prima facie it is like this we are imagining. VisiCalc did the trick. It came up with a brilliant idea. It looks exactly like what we have done in the tabulation. And what's more, it will connect, it will take away the drudgery of finding out which cells will have to be rechecked if something changes in a particular cell. So we can play what if scenarios, everything would happen. So how did VisiCalc happen? It was done on a board, and the drudgery of going wrong in one cell and how many cells will have to be recalculated. You have to mark them, find out. It's a big drudgery. And the user interface is changed. This is in 1979, it was like this, just like what we attempted on a pen and paper method. Rows and columns. However, we could not name them in any manner. A should be date. It is still a weak interface because this is how I am seeing what is happening. The individual, the human is seeing what is happening. It is still not the same in terms of what we aimed at. A can be the date, the rows can be some head of account, but that's up to us. We are mapping. We are bringing in a mappability. What is A, what is B, what is C. So this is what is happening. In the next iteration, we found that it is a little better in terms of having a top interface of filling the cells. We can fill the cells at the top. Otherwise, here you have to go straight and fill the cell. The next one is a bit better. You can mark out a cell and then fill in the top so that it goes and fits into the spreadsheet. Some adjustments have happened on the way we have been working in terms of the function keys appearing at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Please see at the bottom of the spreadsheet how those function keys appear. They allow you to do bigger actions, not merely cell-wise, combining a bit of a cell, combining 2-3 cells, play what if, affecting multiple cells, creating a possibility that only when this cell is computed, something else get posted in another cell. Otherwise, it goes vacant. Now, what we have done is we have computerized. We have made it decentralized in this manner, possibility of decentralization, but then it was still on your personal computers. The interface became a bit better. Right on the top, you have a menu-based approach. You can do more complicated exercises, multiple spreadsheets, A, B, C, D, E, stacked one after the other, but you cannot see more than a single spreadsheet simultaneously. Apple has solved that problem by putting together multiple spreadsheets happening on the same screen. This is where we ran into that concern. Sorry about it. SuperCalc is a spreadsheet developed and introduced by Sourcim. It was done on a very good operating system. That's the control program for microcomputers. At first, he wanted to acquire the rights to VisiCalc, which was not possible. So Gary Kildall of Digital Research, he simply hired Sourcim Technologies to make a table for him that could compete with VisiCalc. The novelty cost Osborne 20,000. The product presentation was a success. And SuperCalc was bundled with Osborne series of computers. However, the lifeline of Osborne in the market was not so longish. Adam Osborne's ideas were good, great innovator. The brand was good, but then it was not happening in that many numbers. In 1982, this spreadsheet was ported to MS-DOS. First time, what was it that Microsoft got in with? SuperCalc. It purchased, the entire thing was ported to MS-DOS. However, roughly around the same time, 82, spreadsheets for presentation 2 wildly successful. Mish Kapoor's 1950, he was born in, and Lotus 123 became a roaring success. How? What is the reason why it became a roaring success? He didn't stop with spreadsheet. He added two brilliant functionalities, presentation and databases. The database will now populate your spreadsheet. You don't have to do everything from scratch. A great idea again. Mitch Kapoor was not a typical tech founder. He was a former disc jockey who plays recorded music for an audience, a meditation teacher, obsessed with making computers more human. Only when things move towards human, we get that idea called trust. So far, the progress has been fascinating. Computerization, centralization, decentralization, algorithms, programs, blockchaining. We got into what is called a CBM, a confidence machine. In this entire exercise, the undercurrent is the confidence machine. If you are very confident, we can also tell something has gone wrong accurately, precisely. In the early 80s, spreadsheets existed, but they were painfully slow and unstable. Businesses were buying PCs, but most did not know what to do with them. Then we tried the world's first spreadsheet. VisiCalc was brilliant but broken. He realized if he could build a faster, smarter, and more powerful version, he could change not just a tool but an entire industry. He worked with assembly language because those days, anything that is coming onto the screen took a lot of time. It was not so easy to come up with a graphics display. Next to impossible, it was all keyboarding, ASCII. He taught himself assembly language alone in his apartment, surviving off part-time jobs and persistence. What he built became Lotus 123, a spreadsheet that ran so fast that people thought it was fake when they first saw it. So you don't have to simply go on populating the cell by cell, like in other tools. You simply put whatever data you want into a database connected with the spreadsheet. Automatically from the database, it flows. Automatically, you can make presentation graphics based on that. Lotus 123 thus combined three functionalities: calculations, charts, and databases. It was revolutionary. It was not merely the code, but then the perfect timing. It landed on IBM PCs. When IBM launched, Lotus was ready and it hit like a lightning. So what we did was, one, we took it on operating system. One, we are taking it on the machine from the mainframe to Apple and then to IBM PC. The hardware has progressed with this kind of a rapidity. And what we are doing is how both of them combine together into operating system from Osborne to MS-DOS, from Apple to IBM PC. IBM PC was a runaway success. was a revolutionary spreadsheet program compatible with IBM, combining powerful spreadsheets, data management, and graphics, making it a killer app that fueled the PC revolution and became the business software standard before being surpassed by Microsoft Excel. Lotus Software, released on January 26, 1983, Michel Kapoor founded Lotus in 1982 with developer Jonathan Sachs. The product was designed to be a faster, more capable successor to VisiCalc, specifically optimized for the new 16-bit architecture of IBM PC. So we are able to deal with large numbers without going through breaking it into bytes, and then putting them together. Kapoor left Lotus in 1986, Mozilla Foundation, another very impactful exercise. But every organization was having these books. Lotus 123 for Windows. Lotus, what's the secret of the success? After all those good ideas, LandPar, VisiCalc, SuperCalc, the success of Lotus is to combine it with a database, which to avoid populating each cell manually, you put it in your database offline. It connects to the way in which it has to flow into these Excel papers, the Lotus 123 pages, spreadsheets. User interface has remarkably increased. It can do calculations for you, it can do charting, and it can populate from an associated connected database. 123 for dummies, 123 guide for using Lotus. This was very useful for us way back in 88, 89. Virtually every organization had one of these books and was using Lotus 123. At a major software producers meeting in 1990, Michel Kapoor, the designer of Lotus 123, called his fellow software company executives to task for ignoring design. It implies that it's a design. The database is designed. The way in which the Lotus 123 spreadsheet comes is designed. The charts, therefore, are designed. We can keep on watching the charts, the line figures, the pie charts, the bar charts. If we are missing out the design behind it, we won't really make any sense to the real world. Despite the enormous outward success of personal computers, the daily experience of using computers far too often is still fraught with difficulty, pain, and barriers for most people. The lack of usability of software and the poor design of programs are the secret shame of industry. Kapor's call did not fall. The American Society for Design was formed, and Kapoor gave a keynote address in which he argued from the primacy of design as an approach to human-computer interaction. So you please understand, all these computerization efforts are to bring in a greater support to the human, to build that confidence, to build the trust eventually. But then we have now stabilized with the recent technologies at the confidence. Microsoft Excel 1985 was originally written for Apple II. 1987 shipped with introduction of Windows. Graphical interface, this is how it is. A great graphical interface, a common user interface across many applications, and it's Microsoft Excel bundled with Office automation products. I have worked with a couple of Indian brands and the Office automation course at Costed, which I have been mentioning. The Indian brands EX in 1991, roughly the time when 85, the Microsoft Excel, 87, it came on Windows. But then 1991, the world's friendliest business accounting software, everything else is complex. Tata Consultancy Services was behind this. EX was a great launch, great package. 91, Tata Consultancy Services launched a user-friendly accounting software, built the world's friendliest accounting software. TCS entered into a joint venture with Swissair to set up the airline financial support services. See how Swissair has banked on EX, trimmed, scaled down version of whatever I was talking. EX is just that simple, the simplest way of working with this. First foray into business process services market, business process outsourcing began. at that time with Swissair, core trading platform for newly created National Stock Exchange, which I will have some visuals to show. After 22 years at the helm, Kohli stepped down from his executive role. TCS launched next generation EX in Madras, the second launch of the software after one in Bombay, roughly around 1988. It was happening like that. The second one is Tally, began in 1986. Shamsundar Goenka and Bharat Goenka, they founded Tally. It had rapid progress, particularly after 1990. Today, it is a fantastic ERP 9 they are calling, and it's a great enterprise resource planning exercise. See how the very idea of working with spreadsheets, the idea of spreadsheets gradually built an ERP in the case of Tally. And see how the Indian brand EX brought together a new idea called business process outsourcing, which became so popular at that time, and how the National Stock Exchange thrived on that simple way of working with what is to be done, very simple, basic exercise. So, two good ideas. One, EX that has impacted a new domain called business process outsourcing. All these stemming from spreadsheets, a very important piece of software tool that we are talking about. Tally was initially developed as an MS-DOS based accounting package with the first version known as Putronics, now Tally Solutions Financial Accountant. Tally became an ERP. It's something which is nice, and a popular advertisement of Tally says Godfather of accounting. Government of Tamil Nadu has introduced Tally accounting software integrated into Tamil Nadu textbooks, specifically for commerce students. I worked on that committee for a while, and it did happen. Tally got into textbooks in Government of Tamil Nadu. The system of trading was like this. It's an open outcry system of trading. This is the picture people see of stockbrokers on TV. Both have impacted the exercise. I must thank late Professor J.D. Agarwal, founder of Indian Institute of Finance, for those interactions when it was happening into computerization in India. Stock exchange, open outcry is a trading method used in futures and where traders are use verbal and non-verbal signals to communicate. Before the advent of electronic trading, nearly all financial trading was conducted via open outcry. Electronic trading began with what we called, the EX based approaches, Tally based approaches, and most of them resulted in a clean, neat imagery. What we see on the screen is out there in the middle. It keeps on rotating, and a computerization is possible. As the traders see the data coming in, they make moves on the computers. It's more like this. The gesticulation and everything is over. This is the impact of a tool called spreadsheet, an idea that the called spreadsheet has happened, and today everything is synonymous with Excel. We are no more talking spreadsheets, we are no more talking worksheet. Let's do an Excel. What is this Excel? It builds on everything and more, lot more, very sophisticated. What began sometime in the by in 1985 for Apple II, 1987 to Windows, really swamped the market. Wherever we go, it's all about Excel. What is this Microsoft Excel? Why is it so powerful? All the things that we are talking from, starting from the desk of an individual who is given some accountability concern, that is head of account, how much spent every day, daily, we want to tabulate, a set of people who are working in an organization, formation of double entry bookkeeping via a general ledger, and then working out the dynamics of an organization from the perspective of a general ledger. Where the person is, in which order the sheets come, nothing matters. They need not even be segregated. Randomly, you can submit. It's a great idea, which was well appreciated. I could see the appreciation of the people who worked with on that Lotus 123 verifying. All that it was needed was like that. Earlier on, they have to schedule themselves, do it in a particular sequence. Employee number wise, you have to give a sequence. what is it happening, and post it into the general ledger. Everything is automated, computerized. Though the accounts were centralized, very soon it became decentralized. Until then, we could support. After that, we left that idea. My job was different. I had to change it. But people were very appreciative because it becomes very seamless, very easy to do that exercise, very enjoyable. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet developed by Microsoft for Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. It features calculation, graphing tools, pivot tables, macro programming language called Visual Basic for applications. So, what is this bundling together? You can do programming. You can have graphic tools. Calculation is there. Graphing tools are much more sophisticated than mere chart preparations. You have more sophistication. You can integrate with the suite of Office products, same common user access, and it has a macro facility which is so dominant. Marketed a spreadsheet program called Multiplan in 1982. Multiplan became very popular on CP/M systems, but on DOS systems, it lost popularity to Lotus 123. I have narrated this story. The CP/M multiplans are good lessons on how the operating system also impacts not only the hardware, the mainframe, the Apple II, the PC, IBM PC, but also the operating system, supporting operating system also impacts the way we use this powerful tool. Microsoft released the first version of Excel for the Macintosh on September 30th. First Windows version in November 1987. Lotus was slow to bring 123 to Windows, and by early 90s, Excel has started to outsell 123 and helped Microsoft achieve its position as leading PC software developer. Why is MS Excel important? The interface, the connectivity to more powerful tools on a single common user access, single GUI access interface is the same. Easy arithmetic solutions, various formatting options, availability of online access, graphing. It's no more charting, it's graphing. You can have better graphs, data organization, human resource planning. The human element came in. More importantly, the programming. Basic features of all spreadsheets which I have narrated, it puts together everything that I have said in one single umbrella, under one single umbrella. A grid of cells arranged in numbered rows, letter-named columns. It's so important that it is more than what we are talking about for financial works. It's about engineering. It's about statistical. If Lotus 123 for the first time accentuated the importance of design, we are now seeing it spanning. Excel spans across several disciplines: statistical, engineering, and financial. You can see an engineering design happening, can be engineered. Display data, as we see later, prompt engineering is one simple idea as we bring ChatGPT together. Display data as line graphs, histograms, charts, allow the user to employ a wide variety of numerical values. It also has a variety of interactive features. So you see, everything comes in together, a column name and corresponding formula. You just go to the column, it will display. The user interface has improved phenomenally. Clearly, you see G column has a name. It's no more G. Earlier on, I remarked that the early interface is A. What is A? Is it a date? What is it? So here we can do that. We have been doing it very regularly, tabulating the marks and then posting it. The grades are there. Basic terms in Excel, formulae, everything is just in Excel. Today we are not even wanting to talk about this. Excel is a thumbnail. World over, just simply say Excel. All these ideas will flow through in the minds of people. Such is the way it has impacted the profession. In Excel, a formula is an expression that operates in the cell A. Say G1, G and H get together. G2 plus H2 will give you the total. Just add G plus H, the column-wise addition, and you'll get the total done. automatic grading. Functions are predefined formulae in Excel. They eliminate laborious manual entry of formulae while giving them human-friendly names. The rows, the columns have human-friendly names, which is a remarkable progress. We can change it. The earlier versions never allowed us to do that. We're just seeing it. Now the human-friendly names, columns can be named. In 2016, Excel had 484 functions. Of these, 360 existed prior to Excel 2010. They put together, collated them together. Microsoft classifies these functions in 14 categories. They're all built in. See how many functions are there: insert function, auto sum, recently used, financial, logical, text. Right at the top of the screen, please find that they're all functions: date and time function, lookup reference. So many things have happened, built-in functions have happened. Excel offers many user interface tweaks over the earliest electronic spreadsheets. Excel became the first spreadsheet to allow the user to define the appearance of spreadsheets. It also introduced intelligent cell recomputation, where only cells dependent on the cell being modified are updated. Excel introduced many important features. Excel also introduced extensive graphing capabilities. Microsoft Excel is primarily developed using C++ and some C, providing high performance capabilities for its calculation engine. You see, Lotus 123 banked on assembly language. Now we are having a higher level language. Machines have become faster. Machines have been improved a lot. But then this is done on C++ and C, which is more important for us. It includes high performance capabilities and a great calculation engine. The higher the features of the language, the more power the programs get, the more powerful the programming will become. Everyday experience, all of us know as teachers. That's why we moved into higher level languages. It acts as a compiled application that interprets user inputs, while the user interface and automation layers utilize Visual Basic for applications. This is a theoretical proof that MS Excel is a programming language. People call it Turing complete, allowing its formula engine to act as a functional programming environment. And it subscribes very nicely to a paradigm of programming called functional programming, which is the basis for AI. Lisp is a functional programming language. So it is readily amenable to move into the AI space. It's built in. A lot of arguments were there, debates were there, but there is a theoretical proof that's Turing complete, and it conforms to a paradigm called functional programming, which is the basis for today's artificial intelligence also. It began like that. John McCarthy's team has created that idea called AI, and it is moving 50 years, 60 years of story. Understanding Excel's role as a programming language, spreadsheets are code. There's no second opinion about it. Visual Basic applications, the scripting language used to automate tasks, create user-defined functions, and build macros. Internally, it evolved from the earlier versions of XLM, Excel macro language. Let's not be confused with XML. It is not the abbreviation wrongly used. XLM is the abbreviation for Excel macro language, which was replaced by VBA. The earlier version of VBA was that it's more powerful because it not only combined the functional programming paradigm, it has also brought in the event-driven paradigm. Another paradigm. It's now a happy blending of two different paradigms. One, that's the basis, the foundational basis of artificial intelligence. The second, event-driven programming paradigm. So it has become very powerful. The ideas were there earlier on, but packaging all of them together, putting them in a nice way that has impacted the entire world. Key details about core engine written in C++ for speed and efficiency. Automation, uses VBA to create macros and extend functionalities, built using Microsoft's UI frameworks to expose functions, the common object model, the common user interface. All Office products look the same. They have a similar user interface. Formula language, modern, advanced formulas are processed through a powerful functional programming engine, which is the heart, which is the foundation of AI. And it readily fits the bill for moving towards AI, very powerful connectivity with AI, and is also event driven. Earlier versions relied on XLM macro sheets through VBA, though VBA is the modern standard. Visual Basic is something which is so fascinating. It has triggered a different paradigm, and we work like that. Bottom line, trying to force AI to replicate your spreadsheet's logic is a Sisyphean task. It may not be able to do the entire exercise of spreadsheets logic. There are a lot of experiments going on. A Sisyphean task refers to an endless, laborious, and ultimately futile assignment that never reaches completion. Sorry, spelling mistake in that. It should be completion. So it never reaches the completion. It is a Sisyphean task, is what we said. There's no point in doing all these verification and validation manually, though it is desirable. And hence, at the moment, what we are attempting is putting together a human related matter in some digitized form with the AI. The next goal is obvious. We have to integrate ChatGPT with Excel. So where is this ChatGPT for MS Excel happening? ChatGPT is highly relevant for Microsoft Excel, acting as an AI-powered copilot that automates tedious tasks, generates complex formulae, and analyzes data effectively. See how this spreadsheet evolved. In the process of evolution, though it may be a slight trace into the history, we have learned some strong lessons in how this lifeline of so many institutions can be managed, make it lively, make it more powerful. By integrating ChatGPT via plugins or direct web usage, users can significantly increase productivity, often saving 5 to 10 hours per week. That's a great saving. ChatGPT, when it comes together with Excel, it is a great saving of time. A plugin is a software component that adds specific functionality to an existing computer program or web browser. Plugins are designed to extend the capabilities of the host application without requiring any changes to its core code. Without much ado, let me show you the screen. Please go to the Excel, click on Insert. Automatically in this particular place, you will insert, add in. What is it that you want to insert here? You want to add in from where? From Microsoft Office add-ins. You have to go to the official store. There's a Power GPT. You have to simply add. Automatically, the Power GPT will now add a new dimension to the entire Excel, which is another very big idea. Very big ideas. Plugins work by integrating with the host application through a defined interface. The host application provides hooks or APIs, application programming interface, that plugins can use to interact with it. So that particular cell where you have plugged in, that particular spreadsheet which is offering you that plugin, it just seamlessly gets connected in a manner where we are visualizing like this. You can generate more power, faster power. And what is ChatGPT connecting to now? The whole world's a large language model. Like we have been telling, spreadsheet is a code. For ChatGPT, everything is a language. And where should the language connect to the human? So we have to synergize these two to move to the next level from the confidence machine to trust machine. That's how we are trying to progress. So let's see this. It has connected. It's now well into Excel or Word. Word is your word processor. How nicely the paradigms came together, the functional programming paradigm, event-driven programming paradigm, both of them have been cementing well in Excel. Now we brought the third element into it, the language. Two programming language paradigms compared to what was happening earlier at the lower level. This is much more sophisticated. It's the code itself, the code of Excel is written in C++ and C. C is a middle level language, C++ very higher level language. And we have a paradigm making functional programming, another paradigm making event driven programming with the Visual Basic application. It's a power which has dominated the world. Now we are having a different dimension to it called language. And it's a large language model. Everything is what we have been talking about. I'm sure we will move forward on understanding that. At the moment, because of a possibility that we may go into never-ending loops. Something went wrong, and how will we check manually? The best of the scientific organizations which are banking on large pieces of software were spending sleepless nights on cross-checking whether it has happened or not. A small superscript going wrong has costed a rocket. That means a lot of millions of dollars. So we are very, very conservative right now. We are using GPT facilities as integratable. What can get integrated? That idea called language. So far, a process called accounting, a way in which the programming language paradigms have improvised from what we began as a very specific patented idea called LANPAR to what is becoming in this manner. It is a vast improvement from centralization, decentralization, blockchaining. Everything will happen. Now we brought the new dimension to Excel called language. All this is simply language for us. ChatGPT can sometimes produce plausible sounding but incorrect or nonsensical answers, which will send us into unending loops. A small error, all of us who have coded will know that one small error, the machine is going into an infinite loop. And we don't know where to end that. We have to keep a watch on it. ChatGPT Plus allows us to upload .xlx. My suggestion is please use it as a plugin rather than take a large spreadsheet, rather Excel, into a format XLSX or CSV and feed it into ChatGPT and try to analyze. Better to bring in ChatGPT so that it's more safety and more resilience. It's better to keep it as a plugin, in my humble opinion, to the Excel and do the exercise. Formula generation and debugging. ChatGPT can create complex formulae, nested if statements based on simple natural language descriptions. Towards the end of this lecture, we will see how a natural language description will automatically get into the plugin and Excel directly. It just operates on the screen. Data cleaning and organization, automation via VBA and macros, data analysis and visualization. With advanced data analysis, GPT-40 users can upload spreadsheets to generate summaries, identify trends, direct anomalies, structured, unstructured data. As far as the data, database, graphics, charting, programming, Excel has put it all together. Great user interface. It's so easy to understand what Excel has done. Now the new dimensionality of language. Visual Basic for Applications, the programming language built into Microsoft Office. Excel itself is a programming language. Visual Basic Editor, it's an event-driven language coming from another paradigm. So we have not one, but two programming paradigms driving MS Excel. One is the functional programming, the basis of AI. The second, event-driven programming, which has revolutionized the user interface. Alan Cooper's Visual Basic has been so fascinating that is revolutionized. ChatGPT can directly modify MS Excel files. ChatGPT plugins and add-ins can directly modify MS Excel files by inserting formulae, generating VBA macros, and cleaning database on natural language prompts. On natural language prompts. These tools can automate tasks, create and insert data directly into cells. ChatGPT does not automatically change existing formulae, but it can add a new formulae. How do we know the different formulae are working together? Big question mark. How do we check? But then what is more important to understand is the integration of ChatGPT and MS Excel, which we are attempting to do today, has led into some very interesting situations. An Excel supported client shared his Excel plugin. He created one plugin that lets ChatGPT be used in a formula. Suddenly that went viral. A few thousand of people have tried it. It spread to LinkedIn. People made TikTok videos about it. It's a seamless connectivity. One output goes to another output goes to another output. Someone even said they heard it about a dinner party. So in some manner, a plugin was generated by an individual with the support of Excel, and it got connected to ChatGPT, and it was all over the world in a flash. So what is it that we are putting together? Are all these different formulae cogent? That's the challenge. But coming back to what we began with, promised ourselves, this dimension called generative pre-trained transformer, GPT, on the OpenAI called it GPT, is something which is so important for us. Transformer technology refers to a revolutionary neural network architecture introduced in 2017 that excels at processing sequential data like text by using a self-attention mechanism to weigh the importance of different parts of the input, allowing it to understand context and relationships, forming the backbone of modern generative AI models like ChatGPT for language, vision, and other complex tasks, moving beyond older models that struggled with long sequences. ChatGPT is something that begins with a chat. What it is? Real-time, text-based. Now, please understand, in the process of creating all this, lot of things happen. Conversations between two or more people, typically online, documented, feels like a friendly, informal chat, small talk, happening instantly through apps, websites, or services like WhatsApp, Messenger, or social media platforms, allowing quick exchange of messages, photos. Now, all this is just taken care by ChatGPT in any form, be it a small message, big message, just go ahead with whatever we have been thinking and working on, and it forms a very rich media. ChatGPT brings all these through a large language model, multi-model inputs, doesn't matter what it is, and it enhances the power of Excel by bringing in that most important dimension, which is close to the human beings, called the language. It just builds into it. It can be messages, photo, audio, whatever it is. Versatile conversational abilities, subscription-based models, creative content generation, voice and multimodal interaction, code assistance, customizable and fine-tunable. Half a dozen features. Now you please understand that what is 1, 3, and 5, as you watch the screen, as you face your screen on my left, 1, 3, and 5 are all human. 2, 4, 6, machinized. All these functions are machinized. Working with AI tools, Still, the human is not directly into it because we are always wary. Already, MS Excel is so powerful. It's bringing in so many things. The dimensionality of ChatGPT can send us into unending loops, nuisansical things. The flip side of ChatGPT is also nicely discussed with case studies in the material that the software's future skills foundation is able to give. The SS Sector Skills Council SSC is able to provide. Kamna was mentioning at the beginning of my lecture that you have to log in to the SSC platform and you'll get the content. Please don't miss reading the content. The email ID, all that was nice to listen to. And tomorrow we will get all these email IDs, is what she was promising. So let's see how it works. But then it goes. It's a simple discussion, online discussion. Let's get recorded and we can work further on it. Human user to a prompt. So we still need an interface, a new variety of interface called prompt. And therefore, we are using those engineering ideas built into MS Excel, not merely financial, design, engineering design, and then we can also do fantastic statistics because we are doing it mostly for those three connectivities: summarization, translation, and the GPT. So this is what we have been talking about. So what is this prompt going to be like? A template can form, role playing, telling the AI the chat GPT will now act as a famous expert or celebrity. How? By collating many things in a ziffy about where and all that celebrity has spoken, where and all certain things, visual imagery, video imagery, everything would have been done. All these can now be delegated to chat GPT via a prompt. Just say prompt, tell the role Einstein. Automatically it happens. As though Einstein is processing all this. But how did Einstein got done? Largely based on the recorded data. That whatever is the recorded data, it creates a role called Einstein and it does it. Style unbundling, emotion prompting, few shot learning, add examples of a completed task to the prompt. Few examples will make you do better. Use AI to generate good examples of the completed task. So prompt engineering is giving us content, context, and style to be integrated, cementable on the ChatGPT plus MS Excel combined. Gives the context, gives the style, and different prompts are there. Typical prompts are like this. You play a chosen role, stylistics, emotional content, few short learning, synthetic bootstrap. Technology is there. You can't fight the internet. That's the concern of my next lecture. We can't fight the internet. It's there. And it's extremely difficult to trace it to either a human agent or a machine. So we have to look at responsible AI. More responsibilities will begin to happen the moment we bring together Excel and the Chat GPT. In Excel's context, this means using plain English to instruct AI-powered assistants such as Microsoft 365 Copilot to write or modify formula. Because it is coming from the Copilot, you can even modify the formulae. I see no reason why we cannot do so in the existing methodology of building together Copilot, which is another idea of a GPT that also does. But since it is coming from Microsoft, we have a pronounced tendency to modify the formula also. Microsoft 365 Copilot prompt engineering. It's coming from Microsoft tables, well integrated with the Microsoft Excel. Microsoft integration of Copilot with Excel harnesses large language models to understand context from spreadsheet and generate complex formulae. Show me the quarterly growths, just a voice command. Show me the quarterly growth for each product. Automatically it comes. Create a forecast based on last year's sales. It comes. So we have a tendency to use Microsoft Copilot because it is built into that. Is an AI-powered digital assistant. Most of you might have used it. I don't know whether we are using the Copilot now for this, but on Teams, you can use Copilot. You can experiment with that. Microsoft Copilot is an AI-powered digital assistant designed to enhance productivity, creativity, and the daily tasks across devices and apps. There is no reason why we should be dependent on a device. There is no reason why we should be dependent on an app. Copilot spans across all these things, much like ChatGPT is doing. It's embedded with applications. So you see, ChatGPT presently is the best, most powerful. Copilot is also a comparable idea, not so powerful, and sometimes it's costly, not free. ChatGPT 3.5 is free and it provides a phenomenal power, giving an additional dimension to what MS Excel is doing. Prompt templates, category explanations, you can simply get the prompt template and then go ahead. So ChatGPT, when it is acting as a plugin, is taking you from traditional Microsoft Excel to an agent connecting to your Excel sheet. It can check the formulae, but it is not likely to modify, but we can try. Copilot does, and Copilot sits pretty well with ChatGPT. What the agent can do with Excel, whether it is in the form of a Copilot or ChatGPT, that new dimension of a plugin, process data in bulk, add a dimension of a language, enrich your data, generate content, analyze and summarize, work with formulae, existing, modified, whatever it is, whatever you have dictated will do, but then is it correct? Are we correct? Is the question. That is a bit difficult. It can go into infinite loops. It can go into nuisancecal hallucinations. The flip side is understood. Everything has pluses and minuses. The flip side of ChatGPT based ideas are important to understand. Within the limitations of this piece of software, it's very powerful. Much more than what a human can possibly reckon with. Therefore, we have to be a bit more cautious, bit more careful, because once an impact is done, it impacts a very big exercise, very large sample of organizations. Why use the agent in GPT for Excel? E-commerce, digital marketing, teams creating. I was listening to Dr. Prakash Goteti. He was mentioning about the bread and butter example, how people buy, how many people buy this bread, how many people would want to have a jam as on that. Great analysis, digital marketing, it will happen. Market research analysts conducting competitive analysis or understanding product and service offerings. Sales and critical resource management teams managing lead generations. Translating the customer tickets. You can localize. The tickets can all be sold. It is good to understand that in one go, you will create an application where you see this is the translation. Some cells are in different language, but everything comes nicely into English translated. Where it is purchased, the original ticket is of no consequence to me. Once it is captured in the Excel sheet where it is purchased in whichever language, I can run the translate, GPT translate in a Ziffy, everything comes in normal English. Millions of exercises are happening like that. Categorizing companies by industry and product, which industry is purchased. Simple description about a company will tell me how many industries are there is of no consequence. A simple marketing analysis will tell you, just put in the industry name, a simple little description, a few first lines in the home page, picked, tabulated, and analyzed. It will classify which industry is working on what kind of an exercise, what kind of a domain, agriculture, robotics, cleaning services. It's like a yellow page creation on its own. Extracting key information from customer feedback, Customer feedback is very simple. They may not be knowing what that product is, but that feedback is very valuable. So you can simply tell based on the customer feedback, which is a typical description, connect it to which product gave it, how to connect it to which company made that product. You can combine all these spreadsheets on their own. Which company gave that product? How was it connecting? Everything is easy to understand. So, well, you see, these were all the concerns in the early days of airlines. The flights were getting overbooked. Until you really go to the airport, you would not know whether your ticket is confirmed or not. Is the ticket confirmed? Are you flying? Is difficult because the flights were overbooked. Peak season, flights are getting overbooked. The airliner doesn't have a choice. So, well, we expected, sir, that we'll still have all people accommodated in the same flight. It didn't happen. All people turned up. Going by the past trend, simple example, those days it was not so sophisticated like you see on the travel agency based booking facilities, online booking, online ticketing, which brought together all these. We didn't expect that all people, including the overbooked people, will show up today. Therefore, we are having some difficulty. Things have changed, things have improvised, particularly because of the Indian brands. The Indian airports got well taken care. The business process outsourcing became a reality. Performing sentiment analysis, customer base is annoyed, positive, neutral. How many people who attended the launch of a particular product are likely to buy? The customer sentiment analysis is the best bet. How strong are the chances that they are really buying? You can see that, and we can still work on it. Building a database of sales leads. Where are the sales going on? How the sales are going to impact the futures? Everything goes into budgeting. So the dimensionality is so fascinating that we have to apportion our money. We have to apportion so many things. We cannot miss out the design. We cannot miss out the engineering aspects in this, the statistical analysis, but then see what is the dimensionality which we gave for a reasonably powerful Excel, which is founded on functional programming paradigm, the basis of AI, and event driven. Both two very important ideas, the interface side as well as the core functionality are programmable. And we are only talking about programs coming together, large, very powerful, impactful programs coming together. Crafting talking points with chat. If you are going to Chicago, what are the talking points? Automatically the ChatGPT gives. If you are going to San Francisco, want to talk on technology, what are the topics? It gives you those topics. So, as I promised, it can simply be natural language dictation. Give me 20 rows sample data in table format where first column must be employee ID. Just put the ChatGPT plugin, create this conversation. It will automatically show you that it's happening. Fourth date must be birth date of an employee. Fifth column must be employee annual. See the detail with which it will help you out on the Excel. Excel is already there. You have to simply go through the ChatGPT to get this cost to the company. Please change the dollar currency to INR. It will do that. In a given form, and need not be accurate English. It's staccato English, but still it does it. It does the work. How do you know it is correct? That's the question which we have been asking, and therefore this training is absolutely important in understanding two powerful ideas coming together. Excel and GPT both are programmable, programmed ideas. So question 4, great guidance so far. I wanted to paste these values in E column, F column, give the name. It will do it for you. Just a narrative, simple staccato kind of an English. Yes, I did it, but there's a green mark on this E column and shows several options like number sorted as a text. These things are very important. A number can be sorted as a text. If it is only 20 columns, we can always manage. Yes, Priyanka, your hand is up.
You can ask in the question box or you can ask in the chat. Priyanka, Renuka, Gorla ji, Rupashi ji, Devendra ji, they've all raised their hand, sir.
Excellent. You can just get. Let me
I've tried
just.
to unmute them. Yeah, I've asked them to unmute, but
Yes.
I have already done that.
Okay. So very rapid
Maybe.
advances. ChatGPT prompts for
Yeah.
Excel. Yes, Priyanka. Not unmuting. Is it into the chat? Okay. As they come in, Kamna, please help me out on the chat. I'm not able to see the chat and this simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So sure, sure,
extremely
sure.
sorry. Yeah, please,
No, no, no worries.
please.
I will see if
Yeah,
Priyanka ji
please.
or Renuka ji can put their questions in question box. I will share with you.
Oh,
Please do.
I can do more hours on this, but let me try to come to a closure as the
Yes,
time is
yes. We are
up
in the
also. La-
last two, 3 minutes. Yeah.
Last 2-3 minutes. ChatGPT prompts for Excel. It's a good book. Indian author. He's a good keynote speaker and a researcher. 320 prompts. It's a fascinating idea. Always go back into the past and learn lessons from that is a method which we talk in teaching. We will always tell, don't hesitate to go to the foundations. Build everything from the scratch, build everything from the foundations. See how the Excel was built and how we can always go back just in case we are getting stuck. It's a Risk Digest, volume 16, issue number 5, May 1994. The crux of the story is the horse races were happening. The betting can happen from anywhere in the US, in that legal circle. What happened was the system handling the betting for some remote site crashed. Online, it was happening dynamically. When was this? This was way back in 1994. You can simply go, it was in Chicago. Horses were released, horse race was happening. They were betting. They go to the betting booth and do that. It can be anywhere. And some of those remote bookie joints crashed. And people went haywire. Everything went haywire. A small, simple error in a few booths created a havoc. Finally, they have repaid, and the fact that refunds were available was not listed. It was a legal suite, and by Tuesday, the racetrack management has decided to pay up for the losses. It's a phenomenal loss that has been encountered, but the idea is there in 1994, 3 decades back. See how powerful we are now on the machinery. So, almost my last slide. What we want is trust. What we have become with blockchain and so much of computerization, decentralization, new technologies is becoming confidence machines. We are able to build confidence. Powerful. I don't know. I can't imagine how many new ideas can come when Excel and GPT come together. I have shared only 2 or 3. But then we are able to build some confidence. More people should learn. More so the next generation, the next new students. It's our responsibility to take these ideas to them. They are the most creative. I'm still carrying some cobwebs in my mind based on all those ideas. But then they are new, fresh. Suddenly, a new idea comes. And this is the way we have to look into when two powerful ideas like Excel and ChatGPT are brought together. It's a new paradigm in its own way. Yes, please. Questions? Oh,
We don't
okay.
have any questions from, yeah, so,
Okay.
yes.
Right on
So,
time. Thanks.
right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gopal. Thank you for
Extremely
that
sorry
session.
for
Please do.
those few minutes where the slides were not on, but I could catch up. Thank you so much.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. And please do share the
Yes,
PPT
I'll
with
do
me.
that.
And yeah, and one
Yes.
question I had, I think I'll connect with you separately if something is happening with Mahindra University
Yes,
as we had
we'll do
discussed.
that. We'll do that.
Yes, okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, faculty members. Really appreciate you joining tomorrow at 6, and tomorrow we will finish exact at 9. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Bye.